left. I just want to get us live on YouTube, which we are now live on YouTube.
Great.
Hi, everyone. There are some new names, some names we know, which is great because we want more of you to join us for our webinars. Um, there was a couple of questions already. No one is supposed to be on video. So this is a webinar, and if it's your first webinar at Coacharia, the way that we do them is the panelists are on video and audio just to keep things streamlined and not distracting. But if you have questions, you are very welcome to put them in the chat. And today's session, the way it's going to work is Meenakshi is going to be driving the session because I'm not quite all here today. I'm not feeling great. And frankly, I forgot this webinar even was happening today. So it just tells you I'm not the right person to be leading anything. But Meenakshi is amazing and lovely, and she will be doing a great job. But I will be on chat and I will be interjecting when I do have something good to say. So please keep the chat going. Towards the end of the session, I will also share another video and some blog posts on this topic of starting a virtual business, virtual coaching practice. I mean, we are mostly coaches here, but frankly, a lot of things that we're talking about today are applicable to anyone, any kind of solopreneur or small business going online. So we hope that this will be valuable to you. To introduce our session, we are here to talk about starting a virtual coaching practice or to shift your current real world, what's it called, brick and mortar, well, whatever,
Yeah.
real world practice to a virtual practice. Meenakshi and I actually did a version of this webinar about a month, 6 weeks ago for
Yeah.
EMCC. And we just got such great feedback from people, and it was so valuable that we decided to do it again today. And also that one wasn't recorded. So we're like, you know what, we should probably just do it live and see if something different comes up in this one. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is not Coacharia. I'm Magda from Coacharia, but just realized that my nameplate says Coacharia. I am the CEO of Coacharia based in Chicago. And good to see all of you again, or for the first time. And Meenakshi actually found us originally as an Ask Coacharia through a webinar like this. So I hope that many of you who are new will stick around for the rest of your life and be a part of our community. But yeah, Meenakshi has since become a lovely core part of our community. She has since joined us in our coach training program. She has contributed to several webinars and has in writing promised me she would be involved in a few other webinars on an ongoing basis. So you will see more of her, which I'm excited about because she's brilliant. And she has gone through a career change to go into coaching, and she has started her online business. So all the things that she will talk about today are very practical things, very practical challenges that she's gone through herself. So if at any point in time you're kind of going, I wonder if it actually works, it does, because she's done it. I've done it too with a business before this and with Coacharia and with a bunch of other things. So we are here for you to share our experiences that we've gone through firsthand. We will answer any and all questions candidly and as fully as possible, and anything that we don't get to, we will definitely write it in a blog post. So please know that anything you ask will be answered. And on that note, Meenakshi, I will hand over to you. I will go off camera, but I will be here. So if you need to call on me, call on me.
Certainly. Thank you, Magda. Thank you for the kind introduction. Once again, hello, everyone. And I'm just noticing that some comments and questions are coming in. I would just request everyone to choose all panelists and attendees in the to section of your chat so that it comes to everyone can see it. Otherwise, it'll be only Magda and I who see everything. So thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second. Okay. All right. So, here we go. So, like Magda said, we are here to, between Magda and I, we want to share our experience. So for me, when I look at it, and when I look at the collaboration between Magda and so I play the role of an individual business owner, whereas Magda, being the CEO of Coach Arya, has the experience of doing a virtual, setting up a virtual practice from an organizational standpoint through Coach Arya, and not to mention the experience that she brings from her earlier uh, professional engagements as well. So that's a little bit about the two of us. And I am the founder and principal of North Star Solutions and Services, and I prefer to call it a boundaryless business. I am based in Ashburn, Virginia, on the eastern seaboard of the United States. And the thing about starting off on my own, number one, this is the third time I've had to reinvent my career, my professional life. And this is the first time I've done it out of my own choice, which makes it extra special. And I don't complain as much. And the other thing is, I always intended for North Star Solutions and Services to be a business that I could do online and using the internet and other associated technologies. So I think the one thing that I'm grateful for in this pandemic situation is that that's one thing less that I'm worried about how to pivot my business, because I always intended for it to be online. And so it's in that, from that context that when Magda and I have spoken, it really, that's when we did the EMCC webinar, and the questions and the response we got is what made me think even further that this is an area that I could spend a little more time on and share my experience with others, and also learn from that in the exchange. So a little bit about me. My professional career spans more than 2 decades, and I am what we would call a T-shaped professional. I've worked in different industries, ranging from healthcare, IT, and IT services, and I've been up and down the hierarchy, if you will, in different roles. Several of my roles, I have worked directly with business owners, and so that gives me a perspective on what organizations have to deal with, whether they're brick and mortar or online. And I think that when you're setting up as a virtual business, you have additional, I wouldn't say challenges, but additional things to think about when you get set up. I'm also a trained English as a second language trainer. And the core services that I provide through my business are coaching, training, and consulting, specifically in terms of getting global teams work together. And I use a lot of the principles and practices of agile software development and product development in my work. So my whole purpose vision for North Star Solutions and Services is to promote organizational agility through inclusion. And so going virtual really worked for me because I wanted to be global. I wanted to be inclusive. I wanted to be able to reach communities and markets that I otherwise would not have been able to. And for one, I'm used to working across time zones. So that was another thing that I leaned on from my professional corporate experience in doing this work. Okay. So
Sorry, before
yeah,
you actually go into the content, I just wanted to
yeah.
mention, not because I'm focused on a sales pitch, but Mina actually does do one-on-one consulting as well. So if the purpose of this webinar is not for that, it's to help anybody do
Okay.
this themselves. But if you need an extra hand, just wanted to mention that she is available if you guys want her. So thank you, Meenakshi, for
Of
doing all
course.
this.
Of course. Sure. Thank you. So I wanted to look at this from these four perspectives. So what is it? What is a virtual practice, and what's the business case for it? And once we understand all that, how do we move forward with it? So that's the whole now what, and then the operationalizing of it, which is the how. So the flow of this conversation will be around this structure. Um, and if you wouldn't mind typing in the chat window as to what do you think a virtual practice is? Like one word, one sentence. What comes to mind when I say virtual coaching practice? I'm looking at the chat window here. Oh, great responses. Scale, online, coach on Zoom, convenient, digital coaching, online real-time, digital coaching, distance connect, global thriving practice, coaching via link, flexibility. Great. Keep them coming. You're making my work much easier. So if you look at it, coaching apps, this is what Magda and I came to. When we talked about this, we said, you know what, why make a big deal out of virtual coaching? Yeah. I mean, I feel like whenever we say virtual coaching, we tend to focus more on the word virtual than coaching, which I think kind of stresses us out. It definitely stresses me out when I started doing coaching although I've done so much of my corporate work on Zoom, and sometimes even just on the phone when you can't even see the other person. But doing coaching, somehow it put that extra pressure on me. And I want to go back to something that Cindy talked about just earlier this week. I was attending one of her sessions, and she talked about, she said, what is coaching really? The essence of coaching is conversation, right? And so if that's what it is, that made me think about it. I'm like, okay, if it's conversation, of course, yes, it is conversation that's purposeful, that's purpose driven, that's very intentional, and it's time boxed, all of that. But at the end of the day, it's conversation. So to me, the medium really doesn't matter, because the human intent is to have a meaningful conversation with your client. And so if I found that using some of the coaching techniques, if I reframed what digital coaching practice or virtual coaching is, it really, simplified it for me. And that's what I wanted to submit to you, that if you are also able to reframe uh, coaching and just focus on the aspect of coaching as opposed to how you do it, it might be easier. At least it was for me. So I wanted to share that. And a lot of you, the responses that you provided, they're all in line with this. And we also wanted to touch upon some of the frameworks, the coaching frameworks, and how virtual coaching really plays into that. So all of us, most of us, I'm sure, are, we've practiced one of the two or both of these frameworks. And so if you look at it, the ICF one, you'll hear Ram often say that the core is about presence and listening. And if you really think about it, it's presence and listening don't have as much to do with your physical presence as it is to do with your frame of mind and your attention, right? So your energy goes where your attention goes. So as long as you're able to retain your attention on your client, doesn't matter whether you're in face to face or if you're on Skype or Zoom or on the phone, because I think that I believe, and it's happened to me, that it's as easy to lose your attention when you're in face to face as it is when you're online. So it really, it's not about the medium as it is about staying true to the competencies. So that's the point I wanted to make here. Really, if you look at the EMCC framework, one of the core differences is that EMCC also focuses on self-development for the coach. And I find that, and I'm sure all of you also realize this, that virtual or digital coaching actually has advantages in this space. So that was a couple of things that I wanted to call out here. And also, again, EMCC also focuses on building the relationship, enabling insight and learning. To me, I would argue that none of these are dependent on the coach and the client being in person. And so that's the advantage of, in addition to everything that all of you have pointed out in the chat window, I think that virtual or digital coaching works. Yes.
Just want to interject a couple of things. So the reason we put these two slides together is because when we were talking about this presentation, we did ask initially some coaches for what concerns they had, what challenges they had, and what were the fears that they were facing because before going virtual. And uh, the whole, can I do my job and can I still be this great coach that I hope that I am, came up a lot. And so I think as we'll go through it, you'll see that yes, you definitely can. But another thing that occurred to me this morning is, for those of you who already applied for your credentials, or those of you who are training for your credentials and submitting your coaching recordings, remember that you're not actually even submitting a video, you're submitting an audio. So your mentor or ICF or whoever is evaluating you cannot even see you. Forget the fact that they're not in the same room with you. They can't even see you. All they're doing is listening to a recording that happened sometime in the past. And yet they are still able to pick up whether you are meeting these different competencies. They are still able to say, okay, Magda, you really suck at agreement and you're really good at presence. So if all these assessors can do it, all these mentors can do it, you can do it too. It's trust me, it's okay. Virtual can work very, very well. And I also want to point out that Meenakshi and I have never ever met in person. And we have been working together for, a few months now and have become good friends, never having been in the same room. So not completely related, but just to kind of give you guys a bit more comfort that going virtual really is, it shouldn't be, the medium really isn't an issue. You're still a good coach. You can still have the same kinds of conversations that you are having currently in person, or were before, we locked down.
Absolutely. Thank you. And that's a great point about the focus on. So what Magda talks about is, you don't even have the video element. It's just the audio. And that's even more powerful to see the impact. So ICF is International Coaching Federation, and EMCC is European Mentoring and Coaching Council. So, a lot of you have already pointed these out. What are the advantages of going virtual? And I I will say one thing. I personally prefer the use of the term boundaryless as opposed to virtual or online, because I find that, and this is personal preference, is when I start with a label where I make physical location a parameter, then I'm already starting to label the experience. And which is why for North Star Solutions and Services, I chose the term very intentionally, and I call myself a boundaryless business, because I do have some clients that literally live down the street from me. And then I have some clients who are literally on the other side of the planet. So by saying virtual or online, I don't want to discount the fact that I do work face-to-face as well. So that's just one point I wanted to point out. And that's, again, like I said, my personal preference. Um, Going back to the advantages, these are just a few that Magda and I could think of when we brainstormed on this. And we also realized that it ties back to the competency frameworks that we called out just a few minutes ago. So coaching is all about being client-centric. So from that point of view, there's obviously a strong case for better client experience, because from a scheduling perspective, there's a greater flexibility. If let's say your client or you, depending on what the arrangement is, if either of you has to travel to make that coaching session, to commute to make that coaching session, then for a 1 hour session, you're probably spending twice as much time, taking the commute into account. And so that's one. The other thing is, depending on, again, national cultures and national identities, the fact that a client is taking advantage of coaching can be something that can be looked at by others and commented upon. And so doing this virtually also provides the client the advantage of choosing their personal physical location at the time of coaching. And this is particularly true in organizational settings. If you go into a company office location and coach, you don't know what the client has to experience before and after that, because everyone around them sees them receiving coaching. And so there are cultures where it's not necessarily looked at in positive light. So I believe that providing this option of doing it virtually really eases that for the client. So it's overall accounts for better client experience. And then the sessions can be recorded, like this is being recorded, and you take care of consent and all of that stuff. And both you, and that's the other thing, the fourth bullet point talks about self-development. There is self-development opportunities for both the coach and the client. And I know that there are two sides to this coin. It can be distracting to see yourself. It can be distracting to see your client on video like that. It's different when you are in person. But I also think that being able to, so for me, being able to see myself as part of the conversation, because being able to see myself is not something that happens when I'm in person. So I look at it as an advantage because I'm also able to learn about how my body language is, what my facial expressions are. And that's very good input for me. Now, yes, it requires a lot of discipline and intention on how you use that information for yourself. Whether you focus too much on yourself and not enough on your client, that's the, I think, the flip side of it. But it is definitely an advantage. The other thing, like all of you have mentioned, it's definitely greater market reach. So you're no longer bound by your physical location. You can work with whoever, wherever, as long as the timing, there's the chemistry, all of that works out. It's a greater reach. And it was interesting for me. Just this morning, I saw a post from EMCC on LinkedIn where they have also, following the other coaching accreditation agencies, included climate action language in their framework. And that's the other thing. Compared to a face-to-face coaching session, doing virtual work is relatively climate positive. It's not completely carbon neutral because you still have, all this technology runs on, well, we call it the cloud. And I always say, let's remember the cloud is on our planet, and it consumes a lot of natural resources in terms of land and water to run these data centers, which is what runs the cloud. And so for example, I live in data center country. And so when I, like, literally a mile down the road from my house, it's all data centers. It all used to be woodlands, and now they're data centers. So that's kind of hard for me to see. But at the same time, it is definitely less carbon intensive than being face to face when you take out all the commute and the travel. I'm going to pause here for a quick second. Magda, any questions or anything you want to add? Anything on the chat window?
I will answer the questions in chat because they're individual questions. So I don't think there's some questions around coaching credentials in general on YouTube. What are the benefits, etc. So I will add some things, some links in the chat, but I don't think they're totally on topic for this particular webinar.
Okay, all right. So
someone did tell us in chat though that several countries in Europe are doing 35% of coaching sessions via telephone, which I did not know, and would love to see the source for that so I could learn more, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, yeah, splitting hairs, but I will say this, telephone is not the same as it used to be 50 years ago, because now it's all cellular phones, mobile phones, and mobile telephony is very different from the good old copper line telephony. So it still adds, sometimes the more you know, the more stressful it can get, but definitely. Okay. So a few pointers that I've used for myself that have helped me out. When I look at it from a design perspective, my business, when I focused on it, I said, okay, I'm going to design for all. What do I mean by that? I first focused on the people that I want to serve before figuring out what tools I'm going to use. And then the second thing is I ensured that I was always I always led with empathy, leading with purpose, yes, but then also making sure that I deliver everything with empathy, meaning from an accessibility standpoint. So how do I set my scheduling calendar? if I say that I'm global and I want to reach different time zones, does my calendar reflect that when people try to reach out to me? And am I set up my calendar that way? So again, if 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 we focus on who's our target, or who's our tribe, this is something, another thing that you might, Magda will post a link. It's also in the blog. Stefano did that webinar where he talked about the difference, understanding the difference between audience and tribe. We as coaches and as also as business owners, we are in the business of engaging with people. And so we are really building a tribe, a community. So identifying who your tribe is and where they live, and then deciding what kind of tools you want to use. So again, it's all about human intent. And then ensuring that you're always leading with empathy. So empathy, again, I want to share this metaphor that Cindy and Ram shared in one of the sessions, and it's really helped me a lot, is empathy is all about helping people out of the well, making sure you don't slide into the well yourself. So you're at the rim of the well, but you're helping them get out of there. And that metaphor for empathy has really helped me in all of my interactions with my clients, and also in how I think about design for my business. Okay, I do want to focus on a few things here, and this is where Magda, please feel free to jump in. So a couple of things I wanted to call out. Personal branding, there's a lot of talk about personal branding. I want to share my understanding and experience of personal branding. One of the first things I did when I set up North Star is ensuring that I had and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So first of all, figuring out what are my personal values and what do I want to reflect in my business? Why am I doing this? So starting with my why, and then making sure that my why really resonates with the tribe that I'm focusing on, with my tribe and my community. So for example, one of my core values is fairness and inclusion, integrity, respect and empathy. So these are my core values. And so when I say inclusion, for me, I look at it from several other perspectives in addition to race and gender. I look at national identities. I look at whether or not English is my first language or not, or I focus on folks that are speakers of English as a second language, like myself. So for my personal identity is not just one. I'm female, I'm a person of color, I'm an economic immigrant here in the US, and I speak different languages. English is not my first language. And all of these aspects have played a role um, in what my experience has been at the workplace when I was still part of corporate in India and corporate America. And I've seen that they can create challenges. They can make or break your career, depending on how um, what you do with this intersectional identity that you live with. So I am very purposeful in figuring out who my tribe is. I want to be of service to other people that live with intersectional identities like myself. So I'm focused on women, ethnic minorities, people whose first language is not English, and folks that, let's say, come to the US from different parts of the world. So I'm focused on global teams. That's my tribe. And it has so happened that in the past few months, my clients are all, and it ended up that way. That's the kind of people I attract as well. They're mostly women, and women from other parts of the world, women like myself who have the same kind of intersectional identities like that I do. And they're all looking to transition in their career, figure out work-life integration, want to learn more about the concepts of agile and things like that. So my personal branding so it started with figuring out my why, figuring out who do I want to serve, and then the key is to practice servant leadership. And so if you focus more on giving first, it really works. definitely it worked for me. So my personal brand is that it hinges on my core values of respect, integrity, inclusion, respect, and fairness and empathy. So figuring out my personal brand, that was my journey. Understanding my values, understanding where is it that I can add the most value. So values and value, my values and my value, figuring that out, that's the core of my personal branding. From a carrying that over to your practice, I find that especially because when you talk about a digital practice, your social media presence counts. And my bottom line is, if any of my clients or my business associates were to meet me in person, they should have no surprises. So if they've seen me online and they see me in person, I should show up as the same individual. My my experience, others' experience of me has to be consistent. And that's important when you are looking at creating your social media presence. So be it LinkedIn or Twitter, figure out, again, I go back to what Stefano said, um, figure out where your tribe lives, figure out how they use that particular social media platform, and then tweak your response according to that. Don't feel pressured to be on all platforms. Choose your platform based on where your tribe is. Again, if you go back to concepts of human-centered design and servant leadership, you are doing this in, of course, yes, we all want to monetize this, right? We're not here to do charity, but at the same time, you also want to be in service. You want to create value with what you have. So, so for example, I found that most of the people that I want to work with seem to use LinkedIn more than anything else. And now that's also a platform that I'm most comfortable with. So I chose to be on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook in that sequence. That's also the level of familiarity I have with the platforms. Um, and then making sure that what I post as myself versus my business, they're around the same issues or agenda. So my agenda is the same because I'm an individual business owner. So my business is an extension of me and a reflection of me. So making sure that the conversations I engage with online are conversations that I would engage with one in person and also as myself, as Meenakshi Iyer. So those are some things I want to point out here. Magda?
Yeah, a couple things to add. So I think authenticity is the most important thing in life in general, but it's especially important when you are doing anything online, be it social media, be it the webinars, etc., that Meenakshi mentioned. And authenticity to yourself, right? You need to be yourself and who you're comfortable with being online, because, well, first of all, people will see right through you if you're not, and second of all, what's the point of doing anything if you can't be yourself? So be mindful of that. That's one thing I want to say. Second thing I want to say is, we're talking about people who are running small businesses or their own business, right? So in Meenakshi's case, there's a very strong correlation between her business and herself as an individual, as a person, as a coach. But if any of you, for example, are working in a larger organization, um, it may not be the exact same thing that your organization is engaging in on social media virtually. Maybe you're just looking at what can you yourself do as part of your organization virtually. So make sure you have that distinction, because what we're not advocating that everyone should go and do exactly what their company does online. We're focusing on small businesses, on individuals, etc. And to give another example, what Coach Arya has done, it didn't even occur to me until just now. So YouTube, where we are streaming live right now, YouTube has been a really useful social, a search engine, social network, whatever you want to call it, for Coach Arya. And frankly, I have zero experience in YouTube. I've done marketing my entire career, and I've grown up on social media. So I'm on every network because, in different ways, because of past work experience. But YouTube just wasn't something that I knew anything about. And we had to learn that by doing. And right now, our follower count is growing on YouTube. We don't necessarily care about that, but we do care about all this content that we produce. For example, this webinar. It's great to have all of you here live, but the content that we're doing here will be helpful to others who didn't attend live. So it is important to us to build that community on YouTube so this content lives on. And we realized that based on our interactions with our community, we started doing more and more webinars because our community was demanding that. They liked it, they were finding value out of it, and we're finding value out of doing them and learning from them. So it just kind of became this confluence of, we found our tribe. They wanted long form video content, and YouTube is the public way to distribute, access that content. So that's what we are focusing on. And I think the point to remember is that, there is no one cookie cutter way of doing the branding bit of a virtual business. It's about who are you? What are your values? Communicating those and sticking to those and being authentic and true to you. Uh, because A, everyone else is taken, and B, people will see through you if you aren't. And if social media just isn't your thing, that's perfectly fine. Okay, do the things that you are, I won't say comfortable with, because you should go beyond your comfort zone, but do the things that make sense to you. And unfortunately, there's no thing we can say do A, B, C, and D. Kind of learn by doing. That's perfectly okay. We're all learning by doing, including the two of us who are on this webinar trying to tell you how to do these things.
Yes, absolutely, Magda. Actually, when you talked about Coacharya, I wanted to add a few more things about Coacharya. So, if you look, um, what caught my attention, I found Coacharya through LinkedIn originally, and then when I looked at their website, the logo spoke to me. So, if you look at the logo, you can see the logo here. And if you go to their website, if you go to the Coacharya website, you have other logos as well, depending on whether it's group coaching or individual coaching, and you'll see different logos. They all first come from this one. This to me is the yogic posture of Padmasana, which is one of the beginner poses, if you will. And if you look at it, it's also the infinity, and so it represents a person, it represents a guru, if you will, and Coacharya is east meets west. So to me, it spoke to me and it conveyed the brand, the image, and the purpose. And what I've noticed is one of the things when Magda was talking about YouTube, for instance, Coacharya also figures out Coacharya, they take care or they pay attention to different learning styles. So the same content is made available in different formats, like a video, a blog, a podcast, and other methods. And then there's support groups and whatnot. So there's a lot that Coacharya does, and one of their values, they strongly believe that knowledge should be free. And I saw that, I mean, I was blown away by the content that was delivered in the month of October of last year, which is when I attended. I said, wow, this is happening and this is for free. And I was just in the process of transitioning from my full force into North Star. So the point I wanted to add on to what Magda just said is, of course, it goes back to your values, but also figuring out what your tribe's learning styles are and communication styles are. How do they interact? How do they engage? And ensuring that you are sort of one or two steps ahead so that you can really engage with the tribe in an anticipatory manner, because that's the hallmark of service anyways. All service is anticipatory. Just think about the last time you stayed at a fantastic hotel, or what makes that difference, right? What makes a hotel a 5-star hotel, a restaurant, a Michelin 3-star restaurant? It's the service. And if you look at it, if you pay attention to that, the service is always anticipatory. People serving you are 2 steps ahead of you. So if you can bring that same into setting up your own business, that's another thing that came to mind.
And someone had asked about getting over social media shyness.
Mm.
I mean, actually, I would love to hear kind of where from you, because for me, it was a little different. Before Coacharia, my career has been in marketing and branding. So since when social networks were starting, I was on them. So if you search for me online, you'll find, I'm sure, some very old profiles and some very old social networks. It's just part of that. So um, if you could talk about that. And then I wanted to actually bring up searching yourself after you answer the
Yes,
question about
yes,
overcoming shyness.
absolutely. Um, Overcoming shyness. That's a thing, and that is true. I have experienced it. For me, I think I wouldn't call it shyness for me as much as a little bit of apprehension and fear of backlash. So uh, I think I come from probably a generation prior to Magda's in terms of my level of acceptance of social media and my even my sense of need for social media, to be honest. I think I was sort of forced to use, I resisted Facebook, for instance, for as long as I could. I was forced into it when I moved from India to the US 12 years ago. And all of my closest friends, it was actually my team that I had built from scratch over there, which is like family for me. They were all on Facebook, and they were the ones who forced me to get on Facebook because that was one of the ways, that was probably the easiest way to keep in touch with everyone. So I am still the kind that would, any social media platform or any app or anything, I'm the kind that will go in first, look at all the permissions and settings, and I'll make them the strictest possible. And I'm still like that. So the point I'm trying to make is there are ways to still engage despite and still take care of your need for boundaries. So my personal practices, I don't have any of the, except for LinkedIn, I don't use any of the social media platforms as an app on my phone. And even LinkedIn and Twitter, I sign out whenever I'm done using it. Those are my boundaries. When I used to use Uber, that was my boundary because it has location tracking in it. I would sign in to use it and sign out once I'm done. That's one of the ways I have overcome my fear of using social media, making sure I know how to delete my account when I'm done and or when I don't want to have anything to do with them anymore. What happens to my data? So being very aware of these things, what happens to my data? Um, Facebook, I don't use it. Now I use it for my business. I had stopped using it for many, many years. The reason I did not delete my account was I did not know what they would do with my data. I wasn't convinced that if I downloaded all my data and deleted my account, that my data would actually be gone from their servers. So coming from the technology world, like Magda, I think about these things a lot. So I think building awareness around these things, number one. Number two, figuring out what your boundaries are and establishing them. Please do not do things just because everybody else is doing it. That's the other thing. The third thing is, this is another metaphor that I always use. Your GPS, your car GPS or your phone GPS, um, sometimes you know how it says recalculating or it doesn't know where to go. But if you start moving, the GPS orients itself. So uh, to figure out what's going to happen, you have to make that first step. Take that first step and do something. So take action, but small measured experiments and see what happens, inspect and adapt. And this is the concept of agility that'll come in. So I started in my safe space. My safe space is LinkedIn. Figure out what your safe space is and making that first post. I still remember it. I sweated bullets. It took me 2 hours. I edited it like 100 times because I'm wondering, am I going to offend someone? Am I being too opinionated? All of that. Confidence gap and imposter syndrome took over. It took me several months to realize that, okay, I'm going to call myself a business owner. That took me a while to do that. So figure out all the, as much as the technology side of it as a user as you can, as a consumer of it as you can. please do not be passive about it. Read those terms and conditions before you hit that check button and say agree. Reach out to someone in the IT space if you need clarification. Don't be in a rush. Do it in your own time. Figure out your safe space. Make that first post. Do not bother about number of likes and shares and follows. That's not the objective. Build your tribe. Be consistent. So I have a schedule. I post at least 3 times on LinkedIn. And then also pay attention to some, and that's the other one webinar that I think Sonal Bell did today. There was a LinkedIn talk, and then even before, that's the other one, Magda, if you want to point people to
Sure.
Sonal Bell. She does phenomenal work in this space. Please hear what she has to say. Understanding how algorithms work in all of these platforms, that's the other thing. So personally, I would say figure out your safe space, make that first post or tweet or whatever. Again, ensure that you're adding value by asking a pertinent question or making a statement, and be consistent. Show up no matter what. Nobody likes your post, doesn't matter. Does not stop you from showing up again the next day. Build a schedule that works for you. Be unafraid to tweak that schedule.
And so I posted some things in chat, both on YouTube and in Zoom. But I actually encourage all of you to just go to coacharia.com/blog, because webinars like this, we usually post them there along with a write-up and resources. So I just posted, for example, a session that Meenakshi and I did on this topic, where I will embed this video as well. There's a whole bunch of resources. And I also encourage you to subscribe on YouTube, A, because I want you to stay in touch, but just because we have so many other resources. And just as we're talking, like, man, so many different things come to mind. We've literally done whole hour-long webinars on subtopics of this stuff. So we actually have on the first Wednesday of the month, we have a webinar that's called The Business of Coaching, where we tackle specifically topics around starting your own business, running your own business. And it ranges, we did one on personal branding. We did the one on finding your tribe, on using social media specifically. So I will encourage Meenakshi to move on from this in a second, because we spent a lot of time on it. And just honestly, guys, check out the videos. There's so many good ones. And another thing I wanted to just say before we go on from this is Google yourself and Google your business. It's something in terms of branding, that's the best way. I think you're going to get a temperature check of what is happening. So I do that not as much anymore. I should probably, but end of the day, whether it's before a coaching session or before you go to pitch your consulting services or before you go on a date, people are going to Google you. That's the world we live in. And people also don't go past the first page. I mean, they do, like, very, very rarely, but just check what is your first page of Google results. And if you are happy with what's on there, awesome. If you aren't, why don't you just click through, and, if it's an old social media profile, like I have some from when I was 25, I'm sure you can figure out a way to reset your password and edit that so that it is something that you want to represent you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I do add that to my to-dos as well, to Google myself every 3 months or so. That's a good idea. Moving on to the technology. So we did spend a little more time than we had anticipated on the social media side, because that's where we've seen a lot of questions that we, like, after the MCC webinar, we got a lot of questions on that. So we try to cover some of those aspects as well. As far as meeting space is concerned, so from a coaching business perspective, the key items are, the key elements are, number one, of course, your own, figuring out your website, your social media presence. The other thing is figuring out the scheduling aspect of it. How do you get people to set up appointments with you? I personally use Calendly, and there's a list of tools that we have included, and that's in the blog post. So Magda will share the link. There are many apps, and all of these apps, almost all of them, have a free model and a premium model. So you always get, some feature functionality is free forever. And if you want a few things more, then you have to have a paid version. So most of these apps have that model. So figure out which one works for you. You can just, the setup is very easy. Next is meeting space. Now, whether you want to do Zoom, whether you want to use Google, the good old telephone, Skype, WebEx, these are some things that are some of the common ones. But then you can also, again, all of them have a free forever version. And then if you want to do a little bit more, like if you want to do group coaching, for instance, Zoom, allows only 3 people or less on a group call for free. So if you want to do a group coaching session, then you might want to invest in figure out which tool works for you, and then you'll have to get a paid subscription, which is true for everything. Google only until September, because of COVID, they've actually made their full-blown version free for everyone, which is the Google Meet. That's free for everyone till September. So if you have a Google account, then you can use Google Meet for free until September. Focusing on websites, there are, again, several website builders available out there in the market. I personally don't think that you have to pay someone to do it right out the gate. I'm a strong proponent of experimenting. Conduct small experiments, see what works. So do everything that you can on your own, which is also a very economical way of getting started, especially as an individual business owner. So I, in fact, reached out to Magda to get some tips on the website building. So there are many services out there. Yes, I just see on the chat, GoDaddy is one of them. Yes, and I somehow forgot to mention that here. So there are many of these services. I will point out that Wix, in my experience, is the only one that, in my experience, I've used about 3 or 4, including the one that Magda, you had recommended, Webflow, I think it was. Wix is the only one that lets you publish a website directly on the internet. Of course, yes, it'll be wix.com/whatever your name. It's not a custom domain name, but it lets you publish it. So what I liked about Wix is that I was still able to see what my website looks like without having to pay upfront. Yes, I didn't have my name. I didn't have northstar@work.com, which I do now, but at least I knew what my website looked like. One other thing about websites I will say is that please reach out to as culturally and professionally diverse a group as you can to get feedback. What I mean by that is different people have different perspectives. So within your tribe, if you're looking to attract a certain kind of tribe, make sure that you have a sample size to send that to. So that's
before you move on, I do want to say something because I think it's important. So I'm actually going to update the blog post with a bit of a matrix on the different tools because kind of the way the Meenakshi's listed are from ease of use to flexibility, I want to say. So Wix, super easy. It's like if you can make a PowerPoint presentation, you can make a Wix website, but it's not going to be the most professional and it's not going to be fully branded with, with your name, etc. It's a great starter site. Squarespace is a subscription model, also ridiculously easy to use. So they're kind of like a one-stop shop. You can literally start with, Magda's coaching website.com registration all the way through publishing it and collecting forms. So it has everything, but it costs, I think, $30 a month now. Excellent tool as the next step. Very professional templates, really highly recommended if you want to look, great, but you're okay to pay for it. When someone mentioned GoDaddy, so GoDaddy does have a little website builder tool, and it's not amazing, and I'm not going to go into it very much because I don't recommend it. But GoDaddy, for this conversation's context, that's essentially a hosting platform. So that's who you pay to have a server. They actually outsource to Amazon, from what I hear. But anyway, they are who you pay to have a place for your site to live. You still need to install a tool to be able to build your site. So something like WordPress. So for those of you who are tech savvy, I definitely would recommend going with, let's say, hosting on GoDaddy because they have good support. And yes, using a tool like WordPress because it's super customizable. Coacharia's website is actually built on WordPress. many other sites are. New York Times, I believe, is in WordPress. But for those of you who are not tech savvy, but want to look tech savvy, then I would recommend Squarespace and just paying the 20 bucks a month. Coach Aria's first website was actually on Squarespace. It's only when we outlived it and our volume grew about 3 years ago is when we moved to WordPress.
Yes, and to add to that, some of the other things that you might want to research on before you land or pick a website builder is whether does it come with, in addition to support, does it come with any number of mailboxes, so that you can set up your emails as part of the website service? Do they? So the one I use, it comes with 5. My package is that in addition to hosting, so they take care of hosting, they take care of, I'm able to build my website there, they host it for me. They also give me 5 email boxes as part of the deal. So figuring out some of those things. The other thing is the level of security that you have. In addition to speed, also the security of your website. What is the, whatever hosting service you use, what all do they provide as part of that?
And Meenakshi, just in the interest of time, let's finish the presentation. Just, it's great to have all the questions, but
Yeah.
let's finish the presentation, and then please keep asking the questions. We will. Oh, that's it.
Yeah. So we just have these things again on the Q&A.
Yeah, we'll cover them. But also, people said they do have to run. So anyone who has to run, go for it. We are recording. This will be available on YouTube and on our blog straight after. Sorry, I'll be quiet now. Go.
No, it's all good. We're on the same page. So I'm seeing some of the questions as well. So these were some of the questions we had gotten earlier when we had done the webinar. We asked for some questions, and these were some of them, and these are some of our responses. So I'm going to talk about the pricing piece first. My personal stance is that pricing is based on value and outcome, and not the medium. So unless you are paying extra for your brick and mortar presence, and you want to pass that that saving on to your clients, feel free to do so by adjusting your pricing. But pricing, in my opinion, should not really depend on the medium, because the value and the outcome that you're generating is still the same, regardless of the medium. There are many online payment options, and we've listed a few here. And again, your website builder comes with these widgets where they're already integrated with payment mechanisms. And depending on how you set up your website, you are able to choose these widgets, and they may or may not be paid, depends on how the website, what your package is.
But they do, whether they're paid or not, anytime you take payments online, there will be a fee that, if the widget is free, fine, the service will definitely charge you a fee. It's around about 4% to start with, and it goes down the higher your volume. I personally recommend integrating with Stripe, because it's every currency, every country integrates with basically every backend tool, has really great audit processes, invoicing, etc. So if you're taking online payments, I highly, highly, highly recommend Stripe.
Yep. Agreed. And I was going to say one other thing on scheduling, which is not here. I just wanted to say on scheduling, one of the ways to design for all and show empathy is listing your availability in different time zones, definitely your target time zones. So for me, I focus on India and in the US, so I make sure I list Eastern and Pacific and India time zone. So whatever the time is, don't expect your clients to do the time change. And also your scheduling tool can be set up to show time in the local time zone for the client. In terms of presence, how to set up, there is a short video that we have. It's shared in our resources, but the key is to ensure that your background is uncluttered, and there's light that comes from the side, not from behind, and you don't want halo around you, and ensuring that whatever your setup may be, it's convenient for you, and your distance from the monitor and things like that, the height, all of that. So these are some very minor things, but they
I'll
make a
demonstrate
difference.
because we did this in the other one. I thought it was pretty good.
Yes.
So today I'm on the couch because, as I said, I'm not feeling too great. I've got a much better setup normally, but I am facing a window and you can see that my face is pretty well lit. It's, pretty good lighting actually. So this is, I just moved in front of my window even closer and you can see how much brighter the light is. So you don't even need to have artificial light if it's during the daytime. But then check it out. I'm turning, I'm in my living room and with the window behind me, you can't see my face. So
Yeah.
don't do this. Wherever you are in your house, just make sure that light is in your face so that you look as good as possible for your client.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Um, and let's see. I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, this was just something I wanted to highlight the point about perspective. I found this on Twitter. It really spoke to me. If we were all fish, this is all the map we would care about because we only want to know where the water is, right? So it's just perspective, whether we do digital coaching or in-person coaching, what's important to us. Um, that's pretty much it. This is a list of resources that will become available to you. I did see a couple of questions here around what are typically clients looking for.
Well, so let me just address the few questions in here.
Yeah,
So people who are looking for questions, for information on coaching in general, this is not the forum for that. Please take a look at our blog. There's plenty of resources there, including webinars. We're just focusing on the virtual stuff for people who already are doing the coaching. And we do coach training as well. It's what Coacharia's business is. So you're more than welcome to train with us. There is one question that came up on YouTube that I thought was fascinating, and I want to hear it too. Amy Kessler asked about your very strict privacy settings and habits, even though you're using social media for business. And I want to hear it because I'm completely opposite. Maybe it's because it's how we grew up on social media. And I grew up, I mean,
yes.
like as adults, but this happened during our lifetime, not in school. So, but for me, social media and just the whole digital stuff has always been a part of my work. And I've always, I can't remember professionally not being active. My first real job was at Google. Um, so I, from very early in my career, realized that privacy isn't a thing that really exists. And I decided, you know what, I'm not going to be stupid. So for example, I don't geotag my house. I don't do things like that in my tweets or my Instagram. But I decided that authenticity is my number one value. And I am perfectly okay with who I am everywhere. And I'm an open book. And if people want to see my cats and my dog and my glasses of wine, they can follow me on Instagram. And if they want to hear my political rants, then they should go on Twitter, maybe. And if they want to see Coacharia videos and things, they should go on LinkedIn. So yeah, I'm the opposite. Tell us about your huge sense of security and safety.
So I did see a comment here as well. Yes, privacy is history. I absolutely believe it. It's a facade. If we think that we live in a our our personal information is secure, it's a facade. I'm aware of that because if I go online, there are sites like Spokio.com that you just plug in your name and your entire history comes up, where you lived, your address,
Terrifying.
your phone number. Yeah, probably except for your social security number in the US, everything pops up. So I check myself on those sites regularly to see what's popping up now. I think what's important to me, the distinction I draw is I don't share my personal details or photographs online. I use WhatsApp to communicate with my clients. And so I ensure that my WhatsApp profile photo is something generic. I don't put up family photos or I don't expose anyone in my family as part of my business. That's one thing. The other thing is there's so much of geo tracking that happens with the number of devices we use. So like our mobile phones, for instance, if your Wi-Fi is on and you go outside, if your Bluetooth is on, you go outside. So by the way, just to put things in perspective, stores use your phone. They track your phone to, not all, several of the stores. They track your phone if your phone is on, and see how much they track data on how much time you spend in what aisle, in front of which product. And that is used to how they do shelving of products in the store. Okay, so there are many examples of this. So I ensure that I don't allow myself to be geo-tracked as much as possible. That's what I meant by that. And so I don't keep myself signed in, logged in into apps using my mobile phone. And the other thing is, it's also part of my self-care routine. Because if I have to use, if I'm spending time on LinkedIn or Twitter or Facebook or whatever, if I'm not signed in, then I get that opportunity to make that choice. And then I'm conscious that, okay, I choose to spend the next 1 hour flicking through things on Facebook. And so then I'm conscious about it. So it's also part of my self-care routine, if that makes sense.
Which is so funny because I'm completely opposite. I'm signed into everything because you know what, bring on the algorithms. They're listening to me and tracking me anyway. So tell me the most relevant things, give me all the discounts I want. But that just goes to show you that all of the stuff we're talking about today, you know, it's horses for courses, right? You have to, it goes back to that knowing of your tribe, and authenticity. Only you know who you are, and only you can decide what kind of coach you want to be, what kind of business you want to have, what you want you and your business to portray to the world. And then you need to behave in a way that is true to those things that you think you are. um, and doing so virtually, you know, all the tools we talked about, your website, social media presence, etc. That's a way to communicate those things, whatever they are.
Yes, yes, totally. And one other thing, I did want to mention this. When I made that transition from being employed full time to being self-employed, um, the pressure is on. There is no more tech support. There is no more admin team to take care of your work. It's you. And I'm an independent. I'm a solopreneur. So it was very easy for me to fall back into this trap of doing 20-hour workdays, which is one of the reasons why I left behind that corporate life. I said, this is not for me. And so I am very aware of how I'm spending my time and whether I'm time boxing my activities or not. And because it's your own business, it's even easier, and it's actually self-motivating to spend all your time focused on work. And so the other thing I've done is on my Calendly, that my scheduling app, I've blocked off chunks of time where I'm not available. And if I don't do that, I know that I'll just fall back into the trap. So one of the biggest traps of working digitally is that it incents you to be always on. And unless you take, and that's been my biggest concern, and everything I do is geared towards that. So if I don't take care of myself and draw those boundaries very clearly for myself and for my clients, I will not be successful in being sustainable with what I want to do.
Yeah.
There are a few questions. I don't know. I'm happy to stay on for a couple of more minutes to answer those questions. Magda, I'll take your lead on that.
Let's stay on. So if anybody needs to run, that's perfectly okay. Like I said, we're recording and this will be on our blog. But yeah, if you could answer, let's tackle the question of from Anushli. Take a look. You should always dress in a way, again, that represents, to me, dress, the way that you look is a part of branding, right?
Yes.
So yes, I'm wearing a tank top today. It's pretty hot. And to me, this webinar is, you know, it's a bit more casual, it's conversational. I felt okay wearing this. But even, you know, for more, when we do one of the professional knowledge webinars at Coach Aria, I don't dress up in a suit because I never wear a suit. It's just not the kind of company we are. It's not the kind of person I am. And we're a remote workforce. Coach Aria has no offices. So everybody works remotely. And it's just not on brand for us. You know, if you're a consultant, that if you're going to a client and you usually wear a suit, maybe dress up a bit more for the virtual things that you do. But again, you do you. At Coacharia, our whole approach is that we want to make coaching skills accessible to everybody, not just executive coaches who are getting paid hundreds of dollars an hour, and not just life coaches living out of their van, for literally everybody. So personally, myself, um, I do coach because especially it's part of the company. It'd be silly if I didn't. But my passion is around the coaching skills, and for me, self coaching is the number one thing that I care about. So that's something else that through webinars, not like this one, because this one's on a business side, but we do a ton of knowledge stuff. So people can learn self-coaching as well as coaching others, as well as coaching teams, as well as coaching for the system around them. So because Coacharia, we want to be approachable. It's just part of our DNA. And we do all this stuff for free because we think it's the right thing to do. You're never going to see us in suits. You might see a collared shirt every now and then, but it's just not who we are. So when it comes to dressing and how you appear, of course, you should appear, clean and put together, just like you would when you're in public with a client anywhere. But beyond that, I think you need to do what makes sense for your brand, your company, and you, so that you're comfortable and you're portraying that image that you want to portray for you, for what's right for you. Actually, you want to add something?
Just an observation that I agree with everything that you said, and I have the same rules, guidelines, whatever. The distinction I wanted to draw was, especially in the current pandemic situation where most of us knowledge workers are now suddenly working from home, we actually, what some of us don't realize is that we have let work into our personal space. And acknowledging that that's not what we are used to doing. Work has always been a place we go to and not just an activity. And it's turning now. Now work is becoming an activity that we integrate with our everyday life as opposed to a place we go to do that activity. That's one. The second thing, this is something I've been thinking about a lot lately, is that most of I think working from home, that whole concept I think, will lose its glamour once we realize that it's no longer a choice, because a lot of companies are switching to saying, okay, we are going to work from home forever. I think that working from home feels like a luxury when you have that choice between working from the workplace and working from home. Once working from home becomes the normal way, then we may not care for it as much. We might want to have a change in scenery. That's one. That's the second thing. The third thing is, let's practice some kindness to ourselves and our clients. Even if it's set up as a video call, let's not expect everyone to show up on video, because at that moment in time, their environment, their physical environment may not be conducive to be on video, and that's fine. And I think we need to be kind to ourselves about it as well, because working from home didn't used to be the thing to do, because we've always gone outside of the home, and home is personal. And not everyone can afford to have a home office. Some of us live in 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartments with full families with us. So it might be tough to even find a corner that's for yourself, and to expect to be on video and work like this. Video calls take much more of your energy than in-person conversations, because you don't have that in-person cue at all times. So you are using a lot of your senses to gather as much from it as you would in an in-person conversation. So these are just some additional observations I wanted to share.
I echo those. And, I'm just thinking one of the reasons why we do these sessions as webinars where only the panelists are on screen is actually driven by that, because a lot of you, there was somebody, she already left, but it was 1 a.m. in Australia when this webinar started. We would never expect her to turn on her camera. Come on. So we just take away the choice. We have to be the ones who, are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. You guys don't have to. But it's all about balance, right? Like everything in life. This is, for me, I've been working from home for almost 8 years. So I've kind of realized where my balance is, and I've realized when my compromises are okay and when they aren't. So um, Coach Arya will hopefully be around for a very, very long time. But if tomorrow I had to switch jobs, I would not go to a job where I would have to go put on a suit um, and be in front of a camera. It's just not who I am anymore, and I know that, and that's how it's staying. So you have to balance the new world. This is new to you, and I think as long as you're comfortable and you're congruent with the kind of coach employee you would have been before the virtual world, I think you'll be fine.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so we should probably wrap up. Are there any other questions? I think we answered all of them. If I missed something, please say something on chat person. There was a couple more questions around, yeah, dressing for your industry. I'm sorry that your dad is giving you a hard time. I think your dad is wrong. If you're a fitness coach, why would you be not a fitness coach when you're with clients? Like, I don't know. If I was a scuba diver and I showed up for my job in a construction outfit, like that's not going to help anybody. So I think, yeah, do you. There are no CCEUs because this is a resource development. You can claim this for resource development. So those of you who are credentialed coaches, you can just, wherever you keep a log of your classes and things that you take, you can claim this webinar for an hour of resource development. Someone's asking, will there be serious behavioral change in long term due to complete virtual interaction? Yes, there will be, but it depends on the coach. So if you're a good coach, and I don't know you, if you're a good coach, then it doesn't matter where you are and where your client is. Like I said, Coach Arya is purely virtual. And for example, Coach Arya's founder, Ram, he has done only virtual coaching for, I want to say, a good 10 years. And he coaches everybody from, the people that are learning with him through to global multinational company CEOs. And this is literally this tool. They do it via Zoom. They've been doing it via Zoom for years. It's very possible. It's not impossible. It happens all the time. I think what's important is, unconditional positive regard for the client and just removing that judgment. So all the things that you learn when you do coach training, just keep those things in mind. The medium is secondary. You shouldn't be focused on, is this a screen? Is this a cafe? Is this an office? You should be focused on what your client is saying, how they are responding, what are they communicating, and treating them with unconditional positive regard.
Agreed. And there was an additional clarification on that question, Magda. It says, I'm asking for the coach if there be a behavioral change.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah. I want to say no. I think that if anything, virtual coaching, in my experience, has helped me become a better coach. I'm still, of course, on my ICF journey with Coach Arya, but all the coaching that I've done in the past few months, I feel like I have learned more when I've done it through video.
So I think you answered your question incorrectly because you said no, but you actually said yes, you have changed. And I think there is a behavioral change in the coach, as in you improve, don't you think?
Well, yes, from a continuous improvement standpoint, yes. But
okay,
if I'm looking at it like, okay, am I a different coach just because I'm doing it by video? No, the answer is no. But I get more opportunities to learn and self-improve. That's much more than doing in person.
I think another thing to add here, though, actually, because Ram comes to mind for me when we talk about behaviors on video. So for those of you who've never seen Ram listen, he listens like this. Like and sometimes he even puts his hands kind of, it looks like he's plugging his ears. He's not, but he puts his hands covering this. He's the most amazing listener that I've ever met in my entire life. And for him, it's like this censored deprivation or something, whatever it is. This is what he does. And when people see him on webinars for the first time, when there's another guest and they're speaking, I've seen comments will go like, oh, is he even paying attention? He is, much more than you and I combined. So that's just one thing to pay attention to, because where there could be behavioral change. depending on body language, right? Like we still get some body language cues depending on how the camera is placed, and we do get voice cues, of course. But it's possible that you are missing some cues that you might have when you're in an in-person session. So from a coach's perspective, I think be mindful, or should be mindful, because then you're not paying attention to the client. But you know, if there are things that you do, i.e., this, just think about how the person listening might see that. I guess increase your own self-awareness is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I would agree. A couple of related questions that have popped up here. Virtual meetings take more energy, so should they be shorter? I wouldn't say so. I still do my 60-minute coaching sessions. However, uh, the one thing to be aware of is to make sure that this is true even if I were doing in-person coaching, I can't schedule back-to-back sessions. So I make sure there's at least a half an hour gap between two coaching sessions, because the presence and the listening, it consumes energy. And so I need to regroup myself before I talk to my next client. That's the one thing which I follow even on virtual coaching. And by using your scheduling apps such as Calendly, etc., which integrate with your calendar. So what I've started doing is the moment a client books a session with me, I make sure that I go to my calendar and block off the half an hour after that session, so that if somebody else is booking, they don't book me back to back. That's one. I wouldn't say making the sessions shorter, but making sure you have enough time to regroup.
I agree with that. And that's not just true for the coaching sessions, but I think in general, doing your business virtually, because like we actually talked about earlier, it's, the separation between personal space and workspace, both in terms of time and energy and literal physical space, that has blended or disappeared right now. So before, if you did have your half an hour or hour, whatever commute, that was your getting started time, and same thing for winding down. I would not recommend, just because you have that extra hour in theory, maybe don't work, because maybe your brain still needs that time to get started and then to finish up another day. I think it's really important. And same with something else I've learned. The more you work from home and virtually, the rhythm is going to change and you're going to develop that rhythm. But it's really important to take those breaks, not just between coaching sessions, but just in general, in the same kind of way that you would if you were in the office. If you do go for a walk and grab a coffee, or whatever it is, make sure you still do that, because those mental breaks are super, 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 super important.
Yes, and two additional things I want to offer. If there was a question here, any specific do's or don'ts in virtual coaching? Do prepare yourself, do prepare your space. Make sure, very simple things like make sure your laptop charger is right next to you, plugged in, your headphones are working, your stuff is all working, ready to go. Shut down your email and all of your messenger tools. Very, very simple things like that. So when you're focusing on a conversation with a client, you're only doing that. So shut off all of your other distractions, technological distractions. Keep your cell phone away. I use my cell phone to keep track of time, and it's okay to set an alarm if that's how you work, but put your phone face down and on silent.
Actually,
Unless,
that reminds me of, with the equipment and stuff, it's really good to do a test session if you aren't doing really virtual stuff.
yes,
Hop on a call with a friend and see how these things go, because just like I showed you with the light, your friend will give you good feedback. But even with headphones, so I'm using the Apple AirPods, which I love. Is that actually, never asked? Actually, the sound is okay from these?
yeah.
Okay, cool. Sound is great in my ears. But so when you use corded headphones like Meenakshi is using, and hers are fine, but a lot of times the microphone sensitivity could be very different. So it could be, yeah, maybe you were fiddling with it. Maybe as you're moving, one of our coaches likes to use her hands a lot, and she knocks into it, and it's an unconscious thing, but it does happen. And it's distracting enough in a webinar, but if you're in a coaching session and you're asking this powerful question to your client and you're banging against the microphone, can you imagine how distracting that could be for both of you? So just go through those practical little things. Better to be safe than sorry. And also in Zoom, if you are using Zoom for your sessions, I always go into my preferences, and then there's a video and audio thing, because I find, especially if I turn on a different source of sound, sometimes Zoom is a bit slow to catch up. So even if I've tested something before, Zoom might not be clever enough to catch up quickly. So just go into your preferences when you open a new Zoom session and click on audio and video and make sure they work correctly. And someone had asked me if my Apple Pods are connected to my laptop or phone. They are connected to both, and they're smart enough to know that when my computer's on, that they connect to my computer. But I love them. So if you have an Apple device, I highly recommend these things.
Yes. Was there anything else? I just want to take a quick look here. Oh yeah, on the virtual meeting do's and don'ts, I don't think I have anything else to share on that. And yes, please log in like 5 minutes before so you are ready to go. If you're using Zoom, zoom.us or whatever your local geographic Zoom site is, you can go there and review all of their support videos and training videos. So they've created several resources in response to COVID, because their number of users is now more than 250 million. And so they've done a good job of educating their members. So please do refer to that. That's all I have. I think we've got most of the questions. If there are anything else remaining, we'll go ahead and respond.
Oh, I went like really over time. I didn't even realize.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So everyone, just take a look at coacharia.com/blog. Actually, after the session, I'm just going to go and update so that you can see this webinar again if you want to. And there's just a ton of different resources and things. So if something comes up for you, in a week or two, chances are it's on that blog. And if it's not, please just comment. And I'm the author of it, so I'll get notified, and then either Meenakshi and I will answer very, very happily. So we are here for you. We like this stuff. We like talking about it. So we're happy to take more questions. And like I mentioned at the beginning, Meenakshi is also doing some educational stuff around these topics and around coaching business, both in terms of kind of group sessions and one-on-one. So if that's something that interests you, please reach out to Meenakshi and hire her, because she's amazing. And if any of you are not coaches yet, or you are coaches but you don't have credentials, then Coacharia would love to have you. We have programs starting all the time, including a weekend program starting, wait, is it tomorrow? Is it June already? No, it's not. Next weekend. I don't even know what day it is anymore. Does anybody know what day it is? But we have a program starting on Saturday next week, and we have another one with Ram for experienced leaders with 15 years or more experience, starting on June 23rd. So we would welcome you. Coacharia.com is where you find more information. But if you don't utilize that, that's cool too. We do tons of webinars, so join us for the next webinar. Register on Zoom or follow us on YouTube. We stream them live. Tons of resources. Ping us, join us. Thank you for attending. It's lovely to have you. And that's it, I think. Meenakshi?
That's it for me.
Cool. I have a massive headache still, but it's so nice to see you. It's like whenever I see you, I just feel better.
Oh, great. I'll take that. Yes, just lead with purpose, lead with your heart, keep your tribe in mind, and get feedback from them, and you keep tweaking, do what works best for them, and do you. That's it. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much for your time, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.